Welcome to the Divine Purpose Podcast, where we transport you along one of the more dynamic journeys of life. Have you ever been curious to know what it takes to become a successful leader? Or about knowing the secrets of life through the Bible? How about engaging in conversation where no topics are off limits? We will take you to new levels with guests who can help you grasp the importance of your calling. Now, here's your host, Eddy Dacius, founder of Dacius Facilities Management.
Hey everybody, this is Eddy Dacius. We're here with Divine Purpose Podcast. We have a special guest today. His name is Romulus. Romulus is an administrator, is a leader of health, is in education and nonprofit. So Gene, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, man. I can't complain.
Thank you for being here with us. We're excited to have you. We're going to hear about your experience, your career, and the way we like to start the show is, what can you tell us about you?
Well, like you said, I'm in health. I'm in education. I work with health and education organizations to improve human health and well-being. Wow. And that's my life purpose.
Oh, man. So you said the key words for us. In this podcast, we focus on helping our audience embrace their calling. So let's talk about your purpose. So what was the calling? How did you know that health was your path?
Well, I knew because it was the convergence of my skills and my interests, right?
Okay.
And I had a life-changing experience. I'm an avid basketball player. I was playing basketball in the gym, right? You play ball too?
Yeah. Okay. I coach now. But yeah, go ahead. So you're a basketball player? What position you play?
So I usually play small forward, shooting guard.
Wow.
You know, I like to rebound, so usually small forward. You know, I'm good with the box out skills.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Buddy people out, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I'm explosive. I'm not the tallest person on the court, but my timing when that ball hits that backboard in the rim,
yes,
on my jump, you know, sometimes it's not all about height. It's about timing of that jump. So
yes, and I'm glad you said it because Dennis Rodman said it. He used to have his friend just shooting, and then where the ball hits in the back, he just follow. That's why he ended up to be a good rebounder.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So
yeah, you know, I guess my inspiration really started on the basketball court. Wow. And I hadn't until this podcast really crystallized that thought that my purpose actually spawned on the basketball court. My skills, everything I was interested in up until that time.
Wow.
And everything that the world needed of me converge at that point. When I hustled for a rebound, I got the rebound, but I also won somebody's tooth lodged in the top of my head.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I push his head off mine, right? And I'm jogging back up the court, you know, and everybody's like, look, you're bleeding. So I'm bleeding all over my shirt. I'm like, wow. Go to the bathroom. I start to, you know, wash myself off. And I thought about somebody's ambulance bill, right? That I just learned of as a clinical transporter working in the hospital.
Wow.
So I was like, you know what? I got to go to the hospital, but I'm not going to call an ambulance because the ambulance bill could be over $1,000. So I took my shirt off. I wrapped it around one hand and I drove the steering wheel with the other hand to the emergency room. The whole time thinking, how do I live in America in a culture and society like this?
Yeah.
Supply and demand and the pricing of ambulance rides is so exorbitant, right?
Yeah.
So up in that till that time, I was an entrepreneur. I opened my own business. I went to the Computer Applications Entrepreneurship Magnet High School, and
Okay.
that's what I wanted to do: open up businesses. But at that time, I was said, you know what? I need to dedicate myself to the business of healthcare here in America. So I did my research. After I got 3 bills from the doctor, the prescription for the staples that they
Yes.
3 staples that they put in my head, and for the hospital. So I said, what is this disjointedness of the billing system in America? And the fact, on top of it, I worked at the hospital and didn't have health insurance myself and had to pay this bill out of pocket. So I did research as to what the business of health was, and it was public health,
Yep.
and dedicated my life to improving human health and well-being. And at the time I was living in Florida, I moved back here to New York. I got my, I applied to Lehman College,
Okay.
and my dual major in health service administration and economics really, launched my career in public health.
So let's talk about high school. Maybe before high school. Let's talk about your parents, because if you can embrace your calling, we have to go back, check your background, and see
Right.
the trend, the path. So can you take us there?
Yeah, well, I am the youngest of 9.
Wow.
So 5 older brothers and 3 older sisters. And I have a big culture of family, growing up with that. And I was very close with my father. He gave me his name, which I wear proudly because he's such a great and smart man. And yeah, I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens. And yep.
Wow. So one thing, I know you touched a little bit about your father. What did he represent for you? Can you go on the dynamic of, you said 9 siblings? Is that what you said?
That's right.
What was the dynamic in this house?
Hey, it's very communal.
Yep.
Right. And so it's Haitian American, right? Only me and my older sister were born here in the States. So it was very much immigrant.
Yeah.
And you come into the house, inside the house is Haiti. And when you leave the house and go to school, then you're in America. So you come to the house, and
Gene, I have to stop you on this, man.
Yeah.
I'm Asian too, but I came here after the earthquake.
Okay.
But you said inside house is Haiti. How do you know it's Haiti? You were born here.
Because I know that's not the same thing I experience. My friends experience when I go to their house.
Okay.
People tell me that they experience, my colleagues when they go to school, and what the teachers and what the TV tell me things were supposed to be. In our culture, in Haitian American culture, we have differences and nuances that don't exist in American culture. So I understood those things, and you highlighting on those dynamics, and it was a difference.
So, would you say that it's like the twee L, l'école, l'église, la caille.
L'école, l'église, la caille.
Oh,
and
man.
And when you go to l'école, to school, it's most likely lawyer or doctor, healthcare or lawyer. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Right?
Oh, man.
Tell me I'm lying.
Oh, man, you're not, man. You're not. So we had a bunch in our great people and working in different industry.
Yeah.
That's why we're part of you.
Yes.
And because we understand what it takes to be where you are, and we have the chance to be part of hearing or sharing our guests share their experience, their background, and I think you're doing the same. So to touch on it is like they said yes, that was the main thing they focus on. And Haitian parents, they don't take the average.
Right.
They don't understand it, but they want you to be the best you can.
That's right. That's right. And I think my dad, because he is not a normal Haitian. So
Okay.
he's, even though there's certain things he doesn't understand, he would trust me and support me
Yeah.
in making me better than
Yeah.
he did, understanding more things than he did. And he understands that, life can't just be healthcare or lawyer, and
Yeah.
that there's a whole lot of industries that people are successful in, that patients and him and us, we can be successful in as well.
No, well said. So, what is the best or your favorite memory of your childhood?
My favorite childhood memory is bike rides with my dad.
Oh,
We grew up in Rosedale. Again, I was born in Crown Heights,
yeah,
and I grew up in Rosedale, Queens, and it's the corner of New York City,
yeah,
and there's the suburbs a little bit of area. We had Brookville Park that was right there, and we used to bike ride around Rosedale.
yeah.
And I just remember exploring different parts of my town with my dad, and learning new things and seeing new people and trusting him as he leads me. And those were my favorite childhood memories.
How important was that for you?
Very important, very important,
Can you
very
touch on it?
important. Yeah, and so my dad is also a minister, and he also preaches about one thing he noticed in these bike rides that we had. So there would be a time where we come to a crosswalk, and whenever he tells me to go, I wouldn't look left or right. I would just go.
Yeah,
And at the next crosswalk, he would tell me to go, and I would trust him and go. And then the third crosswalk, he asked me why don't I look left and right before crossing?
yeah,
I told him because I trust him. I trust that he won't let me get hit by a truck because he's my dad. And so if he tells me to go, I don't have to look left or right because I can trust he done that for me. And so he teaches that as a analogy to the trust that we should have in God.
wow.
And so that's what he preaches in his sermons. And so that's, I think, the most significant thing that has come out of those bike rides.
And thank you for sharing this. This is very, very, very deep. And like, so what was the best compliment you ever gotten?
Oh, my best compliment I ever got, I think, was from Felicia Ross. And you're
Okay.
Haitian, and so you must have a Haitian American audience. And
Yeah.
so if you're Haitian American, you have to know Felicia Ross. And right before the pandemic was announced in March 2019.
Yes.
And in March 2019, I was with Felicia Ross and the UN Development Fund to end malaria, right? So we
Yes.
actually sat on a panel at the Haitian embassy and started a coalition of diaspora to combat, malaria and other items that Haitians need.
Yeah.
And while we were having our dinners after the event, and I was getting close to other diaspora partners, including Felicia Ross, she mentioned that I remind her of Malcolm X.
Wow.
So, Felicia Ross said I remind her like of Malcolm X. I think there's a whole lot of other compliments that I can say I
That's the
love,
most.
but
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
best one you got, right?
that's a good one I got right now.
Nah, that's a big one, man. That's definitely a big one. That's.
Mhm.
Let's go back on you in high school. What was your dream job in high school? So it's a two-part question. So I like to do it because I feel like we need to understand dream can change, but who you are gonna stay the same. Does that make sense? So
That's right.
what was your dream job in high school, college, and now? If they're the same, great. If they're not,
Yeah.
let us know.
So my dream job in high school, and I remember writing this down in class and reciting it. And we had to do a partner exercise where our partner had to announce the interview
Yeah.
that we had with each other. And so my partner, I still remember her name to this day, Tiffany Hope. She
Okay.
said Jean wants to be a owner of several unrelated businesses. And the way she said it, she made the whole class laugh.
Laugh.
And I remember thinking it that way. And to me, it made sense. But when she said it backwards, I said, maybe I need to refine exactly what I want to be. And so
All right.
basically, that's an entrepreneur. In high school, I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
And so, in college, when I told you that story of my inspiration that happened on the basketball court, that was while I was getting my associate's degree in Eastern Florida State College in Brevard County, Florida. And when that happened, I said my dream job is to be the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So I would say that's still my dream job. That's still the goal. That's still sort of the career path that I outlined for myself, and everything that I do.
Yo, this is great so far. What I'm hearing from you, and I think our audience will very, very much appreciate it. So let's go to. So now this is gonna take us a little bit like a 360, where I said, what are the three most challenging events in your life?
The three most challenging events in my life. I think they had to do with my 10-year career at Bloomberg.
Okay.
So I moved back from Florida in 2007, and that's when the last recession hit. I didn't know about economic downturns. Had I been watching at the time, maybe I wouldn't have moved back to New York City. But I did, and I was unemployed for the longest time in my life in the end of 2007 for 3 whole months.
Oh.
This was traumatic for me, and I see the TV show the movie Pursuit of Happiness now, and it reminds me of that time.
Okay.
Because I remember a time I was on the train, right, and the sole of my shoe was missing from me going to so many interviews.
Wow.
And I went to the new hire orientation for my new job as an intern for Bloomberg LP with these shoes on. And on the train ride home, feeling the train floor on the bottom of my sock, I started tearing, and I said, no, now I know I could buy me a pair of good shoes in a couple weeks. So that was the most challenging time, and moving back. And so I was a manager for a gas station in Florida before I moved back, and I was trying to get manager roles. And in a recession, a young person like me in a big market like New York, it's hard to it's gonna be really hard to get a manager job, and So I decided to, to kind of reset, and I started looking at internships, and I got an intern at Bloomberg LP. I got a call from my brother. He said, he knew some, his sister-in-law knew somebody who quit at this great company called Bloomberg. They could get you an interview. I did research on the company. I got the interview. The ladies asked me what I knew about the company, and I said, well, I told her everything I know about the company. At the end, I told her, you're going to get on Sirius XM satellite radio. And she goes, really? I didn't know that we're going on Sirius XM satellite radio. And that's pretty cool. And I got the job. I got the internship, and it paid me as much as I was getting paid as a manager in Florida for half the hours. So I was doing half the work, half the hours, and getting paid pretty much the same. And so I think that's how I got the job, being able to wow the interviewer about the organization that she worked for, and what I was able to find out with it.
Wow. And hearing you talking about this experience, the only question I can ask you now, so what was the process for you to embrace your calling? Like, when you realizing my path is different, I need to just stop fighting, but start trusting the process. So what was it for you? When did you have that wake-up call?
That wake-up call, I always had that. I think my dad always made me in tune with emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And even now, it's a term now that we use that's being, it's becoming more and more popular, thankfully. I always were in tune with who I was, where I was in society, and that purpose exists. And I do have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So growing up in a religious household, the purpose was what God had for you, and you were supposed to find that purpose and submit yourself to it. Anyway, so that was from just in the beginnings of my understandings about life, and now I understand that what the purpose is not bestowed upon me, but the purpose is what I am. The purpose is me. The purpose is my skills and my place in the world.
Wow, well said. So one thing I like to see, like, it's different. It's like an adventure for me, where like I'm taking notes from different guests, and usually the answer are the same. So, what was your transition from high school to college?
Yeah, the transition from high school to college, it was a great transition. At the time in high school, I went to the Business Computer Applications and Entrepreneurship Magnet High School. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur from junior high school, so I applied to that school on purpose.
Okay.
And so leaving that high school, I saw my entrepreneurial career blossoming and starting. And at the same time, my parents sold the house to my brother and moved to Florida, decided to move to Florida. So I was at a crossroads. I could stay here in sort of a bachelor pad type of environment with my brother, or I can go with my parents and still live with my parents in Florida. And I chose to go to Florida because I lived in the same house for pretty much all of my life. And I wanted to expand my horizons and learn more about life and learn life from a different perspective. And when I graduated high school, that's what I did. I moved. It took me 2 months that summer, and I moved to Florida. Going from high school into college. So that first year I moved to Florida, I had to take 1 year off of school because they tried to charge me triple tuition for being an out-of-state resident.
Okay. Yeah.
So when that happened, I said, I'm not paying triple tuition. I'm going to make my own internship. And I opened my own business. I was buying and selling CDs. At the time in Florida, it was a little bit before Napster. And everybody was cool in Florida if you knew the hot new music. And you have to stay connected with your friends and family in New York to know the hot new music. But for me, I saw that as an opportunity. I paid rent to a barbershop owner for a place in his barbershop to sell CDs, white tees, smash DVDs, and other paraphernalia to his clients and the other clients that were in the shopping center.
You said, wow.
So I did that for a year until the triple tuition mandate wasn't in place for me.
Okay.
And I went to Eastern Florida State College and got my business management college credit certificate. There. And then after that, I got my associate's degree, and then I moved back to New York. And I got my dual major in health service administration and economics.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that because I see you have a master of public administration in international health policy and management.
That's correct.
A Bachelor of Science in Health Services Administration and Bachelor of Art in Economics.
That's correct.
So quite an accomplishment.
Yes. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's hard work.
Yes.
Costly work. I'm getting emails from Nelnet. Everybody that hears this, if they're not calling you or emailing you already, the payments are starting. The COVID, the is ending. But yeah.
So, what's the most things you are part of you accomplish?
My biggest accomplishment is starting my father's son consulting firm with me and my dad. We founded Romulus and Son LLC on my birthday, April 17th, 2020.
Wow, you're a poor guy too?
Huh?
You were born in April?
In what? In April, Aries.
Yeah, me too, man. April 3rd.
Oh, April 3rd? Oh, good, man. Okay, nice.
Good people, man. Good people.
Nice.
Good people.
That's good. Good people.
Yeah, man. So did you always, the question is, what is some piece of advice you will get to somebody who's starting now or who's trying to embrace their calling now?
Be yourself. Yourself. Align your passion with your purpose and your skill. And don't waver. There's going to be a lot of opportunities that might take you off your path. If you take them, don't disregard your path. Make sure that you're taking that opportunity and making a plan about how that opportunity is going to overall benefit your purpose and path. And do that.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. So what was the most important lesson you learned yourself, Jim?
Most important lesson I learned is not to undervalue myself, to negotiate my worth.
You gotta say it again, man. You gotta say it again.
That's right. I have to value myself. I have to know my value and my self-worth, and negotiate things like salary, things like attention, things like resources that I know I deserve for myself, and being vehemently, unapologetically intentional about that. And being able to negotiate on my own behalf.
So what happened?
I want to go a little bit. Sometimes you want to be nice. And I thought I was being a nice guy by undervaluing some of the work, some of the output that I was able to do.
Hold
And
on, G. Do you think nice guy finished last?
Hey.
Huh?
There's a reason why that's a phrase,
Yeah.
It's not true all the time.
Yeah.
But I would say know your worth.
Yeah, in the workplace. In the workplace, man. Come on.
In the workplace?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, in the workplace. Yeah,
in the workplace, I agree. Nice guys finish last.
So I'm gonna have you tell us more about it, but I'll quickly share mine. Mm-hmm. When you first got a job, especially when you were waiting a long time, your emotion is fighting you, saying, just get the job. Mm-hmm. And you were more than that, and you just because we just get out that unemployment phase,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to lose that opportunity,
mm-hmm.
and you just cut yourself short on that negotiating deal of your salary.
Yep.
So when did you realize? When did you say no more?
And I don't even
you haven't had that.
I plan to go into this detail, but the way you just set it up, I have to. I was an intern at Bloomberg for 2.5 years. Multi-billion-dollar organization.
Yeah.
24 billion exactly, because I was a tour guide for the organization. I had to study it. And then 72 countries, right? And I realized a lot of risk and inconsistencies in their accounts payable process.
Okay.
And so what I did is I did research, cost benefit analysis, industry standard, comparative analysis to find out how we can alleviate these inconsistencies. I wrote a job description and a role that would help alleviate.
Come on, Gene.
I made my own job at this company. I wrote the job description for them. I presented it to our manager. She took it to HR and they hired me for it. Right? And when that happened, and it came down to the time, okay, Gene, we got this role in and we created it in these ways that you wanted it.
What's the salary?
And then they told me the salary, and I was shocked.
What?
I was shocked. And, but like you said, I was an intern. I had that winter that I told you about before the internship. And I had this great opportunity to have something great, a bullet point under my belt.
Yeah.
And I didn't negotiate back high enough.
Ooh. I know it hurt. I know it hurts.
I didn't. And I think, till this day, I'm still feeling the trajectory of that misstep. So, yeah.
Wow, sorry to hear that. It's just one thing I realized, it's always the same. So one thing, all right, for me, so quick background for me, I'm a locksmith. I have a bachelor degree in project management. Mm-hmm. I coach. I own my own business. So I'm in the facility management business industry. And I'm an instructor, so I'm teaching a trade at a great school where I went to be a locksmith there. So they call me back to be an instructor. But one of the guys, so we usually get reps, people from different organizations to talk about the security industry, and they said never sell yourself short.
That's it.
You are a security provider. You're a security technician. This is value. This is a big deal. So, and before that was my case. So if an employer go tell, yeah, we're gonna start you to 60,000 a year, I go by, no, can we negotiate to 80? Because if you can give me 60, you probably have 80. But my struggle was how to balance, and then not every time you can do the research. Does that make sense?
Right. Yep.
But in your case, you designed a job,
I did.
you created, and
Yep.
but what was the lesson now?
I was looking at the value that I was bringing only, and the solution that I was bringing only.
Okay.
I was looking at the solution that I was bringing only, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't examining the value, the proper value of that solution, and what it was worth monetarily, and that was missing in my research. Right? I researched the solution and I had to understand what the role was and how it was going to solve the problem. But I lacked in the research of what everybody paid that role, and lacked that communication of what that role should have been paid.
Let's take a step back, and I think this is a problem in our culture.
It is.
How can we resolve it? Should we go back to our ancestors or parents where they don't teach? Like me, I grew up with my father died early. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of things I have to, and God paved my way. I'm not gonna lie, man. So, and some people always said I'm a go-getter, but there's some mistake you make. And when you find out how much they're paying that person, it's not like you're comparing salary, but the same way the value of what you're giving them.
Right.
I don't know if you want to share, talk about it, where that the background, how can we help the next generation to get better on value stuff?
And I think you started talking about it when you said go back to the ancestors, right? I think we need to go. We need to rethink how we're intentional about how we teach each other, the examples that we provide for each other. And we need to re-inject dignity.
Yeah.
When you talked about going back to the ancestors, we need to go back to a place of regalcy, right? A place of royalty, where we dictated our destinies, right? To where we manifested our environment, where we were free to have the societies, to create the societies that are healthy for us. And we need to go back to understanding that that's possible. And I say go back there with reservations, because I'm here now. I don't know. I didn't experience the way it was back there. And I know through research that that's the way it was. But I think we can make a new intentionality, a new worth, a new courage, a new bravery in our society that will transcend into us being confident in negotiating our worth in the market and in other larger societies and in the universe.
Well said, Gene. Well said. And to add to it, and I was I was watching an interview from Iman Shepard. He's a basketball player. He played for New York. He played for Cleveland. And then he said LeBron James ruined the NBA by going to Miami,
Mm-hmm.
where he just proved that there is no loyalty.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing like you talking about loyalty, where there's not like now there's twofold of that question would be: do you agree of LeBron James was the one who kind of ruined the NBA by promoting player empowerment?
Right, exactly. So you grow up in a paradigm
Yeah,
where the one-off paradigm, right? And this is something recent that has been coming into our society. When I talk about society and culture, I'm talking about Black American,
yeah,
Indigenous American culture and society, to where we magnify one leader and one person makes it, and he has to be exceptional. And we're teaching everybody to work to be that one exception, to be that one draft pick,
yeah,
right? To be that one Martin Luther King, to be that one Malcolm X's. But we
yeah,
have to remember that um, Martin and Malcolm were trying to create more of themselves.
yes,
And if we have 10, that we can have 10,000 Malcolm X's, and if we do, we are more powerful in manifesting our society, our culture, and our environment. So yeah, this one-off savior mentality, where one savior is supposed to come and save us, and we're not. We're supposed to be led, and we're not supposed to lead ourselves. Go ties into this courage thing, this dependency thing, that has been engineered over centuries now, and that we can recognize and rectify.
so and you can hear that about the great resignation, so people
Right.
feeling freedom. And
Yes.
I think that's the empowerment of the employees. They value themselves now. Without them there's no job, right?
Yes.
But I don't know if that relate closely to what we were saying in terms of value yourself in the workforce, and then make sure what you're worth, you get it.
It all ties in,
Okay.
and even it ties into Fred Hampton.
Okay.
It ties into the Black Panthers. It
Yeah.
ties into Fred Hampton's mantra, "More power to the people," and it ties into what he did. He spoke to Black and white people, working class people, um, towards the end of his life. And coincidentally, not coincidentally, also towards the end of Martin Luther King's life,
Yeah.
he talked about going to Washington to get that check for working class people.
Yeah.
And so when that true power transfers back to the people, you know, the ones in power who have engineered their societies to their benefit, you know, take notice,
Yep.
right? They take notice, and then they have to label it. We have a term called the Great Resignation,
Yeah.
and I think it's a symptom of intentionality, confidence, bravery, being of value, that more individuals have in their own lives, and therefore becomes a bigger value in our larger society. So, the more that we value bravery, freedom,
Yep.
independence, confidence, the more you'll see certain roles who don't offer, who are not conducive to those values. Certain businesses, HR practices,
Yep.
certain industries,
Yeah.
right? Certain structures within infrastructures within industries. If they're not conducive to those values, they're going to start to fall, or have to take drastic measures to remain relevant. But we, as the people, as every individual, have to just keep pushing and keep being more intentional, and holding true to our values.
Wow, man, you couldn't say better, and I appreciate you sharing this, because this talk straight to our core, what we believe and what we're trying to promote. Because you have 2 degrees, right?
Yeah. Well, 4. I would say.
And
5.
You spend time. You work on your skill. You get better, and this is experience. This is knowledge. Skill set, right? So you get to compensate for this. Am I right?
That's right. That's right. So, I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, definitely, man, and I appreciate it, because that's what we want. That's the model we want for our next generation.
Right.
Knowing that this is possible if that's what you believe, and embrace your calling. So let's go. I know you want to talk about your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yes.
So what's the name?
So Romulus and Son LLC. Our main consultant is Comey App.
Okay.
Comey App does test, trace, and vaccination for businesses.
Okay.
So any business over 50 people, and they see these laws that are coming up about mandatory vaccine for people in the businesses, for their clients, all of this is impacting businesses in a great way.
Okay.
So we have a cost-efficient way to provide you a solution. We are your one-stop shop for test, trace, and vaccine for your business. We have an app. You download the app as a business owner. You can see who in your employee workforce are vaccinated, who has disclosed to you that you can see if they have been tested or not. And if something happens and somebody does test positive for COVID within your business, we'll do the proper tracing and the proper follow-up to make sure all government protocols are adhered to, and make sure your business operates at the best way.
Yeah, so we have it on the screen now.
Great. Yep. So you can see that examples. Those examples is comeyapp.com. COMIAP.com.
Okay. Yeah. So where can they get in contact with you?
They can get in contact with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, right? At Romulus JC on Facebook. I'm at Romulus JC on LinkedIn, and I'm at Romulus.jc on Instagram. You can also give me an email at gene@comeyap.com.
Wow. So we're gonna put your so right here, this is you.
Yes, that is.
That's
right there. That's my LinkedIn.
Yep.
You know, I was on BBC News there. You can click there and watch the BBC News that I had, the BBC News interview that I had doing coronavirus work. So again, my purpose is to improve human health and well-being, and this pandemic is the biggest thing that's impacting human health and well-being now. So I'm in it full force, full-fledged, and this is how we're providing solutions to you, the people and businesses.
No, thank you, appreciate it. So this will be time now for Hot Topic. So Hot Topic is a segment where we talk about question people don't have a chance to talk. Like, we're gonna put you on the hot seat now. All right. Let's go. All right, Gene. So, hot topic for you. Do you think that a lot of people have a understanding of COVID? So, if you had a chance to clear the air, clear the misunderstood or misconfusion, what would be your answer?
Whoa. Oh my goodness. There is so where do I even start?
Go
There's
ahead,
so much
man.
misinformation and disinformation out there.
Okay.
I wouldn't know where to start. This commercials that are just dispelling myth after myth. I met Kwame Torian. He's the director of the health department here in New York City, and he's on TV every day encouraging everybody to get vaccinated and get boosted. Um, yeah, I don't know. The vaccine is gonna turn you into a zombie, and that's not true. We would have a lot
Uh,
more zombies walking around. I don't know. Maybe some people would say we had zombies before this vaccine came out. mRNA has been researched for over 10 years, longer than that. There have been mRNA vaccines implemented um, for rabies, actually. So this hasn't been the first infection that mRNA vaccines have been mobilized for.
yeah.
Coronavirus is not, um, COVID-19 is not the first coronavirus. So this is not some new thing that we haven't heard about before that we already came up with a solution for. This is SARS-CoV-2. COVID-19 is SARS-CoV-2. And as a lot of people could remember in the news, even if you don't follow healthcare, there was already SARS, and SARS was a virus that we already knew about, and
Yeah.
SARS is a coronavirus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are some. I think that's a good room I can attack right there about the fact that COVID-19 is the second predominant coronavirus that humanity has, I think, conquering.
But some people will say COVID-19 has enriched the riches, right?
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
COVID-19 is expensive. What would you
Okay,
say?
I would say that there's a disconnect there, right? So COVID-19 doesn't have a bank account. You can't go buy COVID-19 from anyone.
Yeah.
Um, so it's not expensive, and it's not costly. So pandemics are expensive. Pandemics are costly. Coronavirus didn't make people rich. Economic structures, existing economic structures, and the pressures that the pandemic
Yep.
made, though that's what make people rich.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you did a good job answering these questions because I feel like you said, this misunderstanding of the COVID and conspiracy, people are taking it the wrong way. These are the things that's not helping.
Right,
But
right. And a lot of it is rooted in actual historical mistreatments of
yeah,
large swaths of society by people in power. And I wouldn't say justified, but they're understandable and real.
yeah,
And we just need to be informed with up to date information and not think with past outdated information, because that's not what education is. If we're educated, if we stay educated and informed and knowledgeable, then our knowledge grows and is appropriate to the time and the situation.
No, I think this is great. This is great. So we get to the end of this episode with Gene Romulus. Thank you for being here with us. This was
Man.
great conversation.
Yes.
Before we let you go, question will be, what are the 3 movies you will recommend to our audience?
3 movies. I do have a top 10, right?
Okay.
And the 3 movies on that top 10 are number 1, Hoodlum by Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Right? Number 2 is V for Vendetta.
Okay.
Hugo Weaving, right? Number 3 is Mel Gibson, Apocalypto. Gibson's Apocalypto.
Yeah.
It's my 3rd top movie.
That's a good movie. Good movie.
Yes.
Any books you will recommend us?
3 books. I would say the most impactful book in my life has been Change for Thinking by John Maxwell.
Okay.
The second book I want to recommend is Black Majesty. It's the story of King Ali Christophe. A lot of people don't know that he had a king.
Wow.
And so this story was an incredible book about his life. And the third book would be Written in Blood. Written in Blood is the about 2,000-page anthology of Haitian history from like 1590.
Yeah, you gotta send me those links, man.
Yeah.
Send me the link. Yeah. Anything related to Haiti, man.
I'll send you the books if you want that. How about that?
Oh,
I'll let you know.
That'll be too much, man. We appreciate it. Yo, Gene, this is great, man. I like it. I think effortless. Nothing we said was scripted, and I think this allows us to have a good conversation where people can learn and understand. Your path is your path. Embrace your calling. It's embrace your purpose. So definitely. So last word for you. Oh, before this, sorry. Is there a question you wish I asked you today?
You know what? I wrote down some questions that I wish you asked me, and you asked me all the questions. We
have time. We have like 3 minutes.
Yeah, you asked me everything.
Really?
Yeah, you asked me everything that I wanted to be asked. I wanted you to ask me how many brothers and sisters I had. Yeah. And I was able to explain that. I was able to explain how that impacted my life. Actually, you hadn't asked me how having so many brothers and sisters impacted your character. And to that answer, I would say I have a piece of every one of my brothers and sisters in my character. I can trace a tendency that I have to a brother or sister that I have.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. And thank you for reminding me that, because we feel like sometimes we have a lot of questions. We're trying to path and then wave on it, and then we might miss a question you would like us to ask you. So that's why we put it there for you to tell us. So before you go, top influencers in your life. If you had a ceremony and you have special guests, who you would like to be there? 5 people.
5 people. First of all, my dad has to be there.
Yep.
Top influencers. We talking about famous people.
No, people that influence you. Doesn't have to be famous. People in your life.
I would say Jeff Lindor, the CEO of the Gentleman's Factory in Brooklyn.
Actually, I'm looking for him, man, to be a guest. So,
okay, all right, and we could talk offline and see, if I could do anything for you. Yeah. He's there. I would say, I want to get some, some public figures in there, because I admire some economic leaders that we have. Jeffrey Canada,
Okay.
he is the owner of um, a school, a charter school here in Harlem,
Okay.
Harlem Children's Zone. He
Okay.
actually was CEO of our Harlem Children's Zone, great leader in education. So that's number three. Um, Sean Rochester.
Wow.
Sean Rochester is also a member of the Gentleman's Factory and an economic leader in our community. He actually founded um, a SPAC. And for people who don't know what SPAC is, he founded the first African American special purpose acquisition.
Hmm.
I forget what the company. It might be
Okay.
Company to but special purpose acquisition. And this company is now raising money for a skyscraper in the city
Yeah.
dedicated to African American culture.
Wow.
It's an incredible project that's happening right now, and that's really close to fruition. So that's four.
Yeah.
That's four influences. Um, and so it doesn't say dead or alive. So I would say the fifth is Malcolm X. Malcolm X, I think, is a great shining example
Yeah. Yes.
of intentionality
Yep.
and exemplifying intentionality and purpose for humanity.
Yes.
And yeah, so those are the five top influences in my life. I guess right now that could come off the top of my head.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you, Gene. Really appreciated the time. Last word for you.
Last word for me. Um, the logical path to purpose is foundation, inspiration, and growth.
Wow. Thank you, Gene. So this is Eddy Dacius on Divine Purpose Podcast with Gene Romulus. He's a wonderful, wonderful guest. We had a great time with him. Thank you, Gene, for taking the time to be with us and to share your career experience and then give advice to our audience. We appreciate it. See you guys soon. And thank you, Gene. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much, Divine Purpose Podcast.